r/AskReddit. What industry is a lot shadier than it seems? Does the beauty industry have a problem with child labor? I remember watching a thing where a journalist goes to India to see the mines where children mine some sort of mineral to make bronzer. Yes, they mine mica and it's in almost every beauty product. It adds shimmer to the product. But a lot of companies are now using artificial or synthetic mica. You just have to do your research on who you're willing to buy from and if they use child labor. Damn these reminders. It's 2020 and check to see if they use child labor is still a thing that exists in the world. I mean, I know it intellectually, but just damn. And it's to things like these that I like to point out to people who try and downplay how shit the world is. Health insurance. In the commercials it is all about caring for your health and stuff. But if you ever get a serious illness, they will do anything to avoid paying for your treatment. Source: my mother got breast cancer and her health insurance made a business decision to let her die rather than pay the $40 for her treatment. They made that decision, then hired lawyers to make it happen. My mom got to fight them in court while going through chemo. She made it by mortgaging the house. She told me the insurance company caused her more stress than the prospect of dying. I buy insulin every month, and every month I literally have to beg my insurance over the phone about why I need this. It's scummy shit. Do you really though? Avocado farms. Most of the farms in Central America are taken over by the cartel because of how much money is in selling avocados. I'm surprised there aren't more in the US. Avocado trees are damn picky, only grows in certain places, and if everything isn't absolutely perfect, they die. You can grow giant, shitty avocados in Florida. I remember how shocked I was when I bought a massive avocado in New Jersey and it tasted like absolute shit. Seriously? The funeral business preys on people's weakest moments to convince them to buy ridiculously unnecessary stuff. Ask a Mortician is a really good YouTube channel that tries to make the death industry more open and clear. Hello fellow death enthusiast, lol, I second this recommendation. Caitlin has a way of breaking down complicated issues to make it easy to understand. Her books are great too. I just read When Smoke Gets in Your Eyes and Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs. I cannot recommend these books more. Jewelry / gems / diamonds is pretty dark. I've seen that movie. As a chef / owner, I would say delivery services like Grubhub. They take 30% of the sale, leaving the restaurant with basically $0 in profit. And their customer support is a joke. It's like they hate us. Never again. Why would a restaurant agree to a blanket 30% cut in sales? What? It's a good way to move product and also get your name and food to folks that maybe never heard of you. Some places have such a low food cost that they still make some money. And think about a super slow night where you only do 3 deliveries. You still have to pay your delivery guy his shift pay. But if you went through Grubhub, you only pay for what was delivered. Basically $0 in profit. They still make some money. Well, that was a fun ride. The music and the art industry. I'm saying that the people who did this to both me and Corey Haim are still working. They're still out there, and they're some of the most richest, most powerful people in this business. And they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now. Feldman said, "Are you saying that they're pedophiles?" Walters asked, F. Yes. W. And they're still in this business. F. Yes. W. You're damaging an entire industry. F. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to. I'm just saying it's a very important, serious topic. The View. 2013. Hollywood pedophilia interview between Barbara Walters and Corey Feldman. What a cunt. I get that you were molested as a child and hundreds have been. and continue to be today. But you can't say it out loud, you're hurting those pedos businesses. Because Barbara Walters is probably friends with those people. Barbara Walters was engaged to the guy who helped put gay men in prison on a federal level for being gay. Sunglass industry. Punny business. But, yes, it's true. I'll use Oakley as an example because it's, literally, close to home. Oakley has not been the same since they were bought out. Oakley was a great company to work for with great bonuses, swag, and extremely high company morale. Their HQ is one of the coolest buildings you could find, and the people were always happy to work for a legendary company that really treated their employees right. Oakley knew their customers well. But at the end of the day, it's still a business. And Luke Sotica wanted that business. Luke Sotica bought them out in the end. But not through Oakley's own will. You see, Luke Sotica owns nearly all the major glasses brands and the stores that carry them. They are one step short of a full monopoly of the entire global eyewear industry. Luke Sotica wanted Oakley, so they took Oakley off all the shelves of every major glasses retailer until Oakley could do nothing but give in. Squeezed dry until they had to be bought at nicer price for Luke Sotica. Generally this is why antitrust law needs to actually be enforced. This industry is basically a textbook example of how shit goes wrong if left to itself. Man, if only a legendary brand had the ability to directly sell its product. They have some of their own stores, but you need other retailers like Sunglass Hut, LensCrafter, etc., which are all owned by Luke Sotica. The non-profit world. Unfortunately, most people at the top are in it to make a name for themselves and don't usually care about the mission of the organization. Yeah, I've heard pretty despicable things about the Komen Foundation. Like how very little of the funds they raise actually go to cancer care, and how they sue other charities that they think are moving into their turf. Defense contract manufacturing. When I worked in that field, it was like a time capsule to 70s stereotypes. Beer for lunch, whiskey in the desk drawer, everyone, and the best seats at the biggest games for decision makers. What country? The United States? Did you work for a defense contractor in 1970s and didn't know it? This was the US. Just one example, I was at a lunch at a nice restaurant with my boss and a potential client we had flown in from DC. They got plastered at noon and started giggling about the biggest explosions they'd ever seen and what cool shit they'd watched smash into other cool shit. Work bled into the evening, and smoking cigars at a pub that sold them was a weekly ritual and a way to hammer out the details. This was recent, like during the modern height of stupid contracts being thrown around. Ah, so that's how Johnny signed us up for the F-35. I have no proof of this, but the high-end art industry, I 100% believe most of it is just to launder money. It's more than laundering money, it's a way to store wealth that doesn't involve bank accounts. If you live in a country with a corrupt dictatorship that can order the bank to seize your assets from the bank, a physical asset you can move and hold on to is actually much more valuable. Porn industry. True, so many girls are tricked into thinking they're signing up for a model agency, and even those who know exactly what they are going for can still get abused. Happens more often than not. Not to mention that by the end of their career a lot of them go broke. Also often they do scenes that they don't feel comfortable with because they'll get paid more if they do. For example, I remember there was a rumor that porn stars get paid more if they do gay scenes. Straight CIs men get hardly anything for doing straight scenes. Some volunteer for it. Gay porn, however, is far and above one of the highest paying subcategories there is. Even women in a heavily male-influenced industry need binoculars to see the paychecks that some of the bigger names in gay porn make. Mattress industry. Specifically, mattress firm. Worked in the mattress industry for a bit at a startup. Basically 90% bullshit. And the worst part? We had a real doctor serve an advisory role for our products. He debunked a lot of nonsense claims about mattresses like your pillow is 50% of your spinal support that the salespeople use to sell you accessories. The salespeople would argue with him like they knew better. Kool-Aid is strong there. Some of my favorites I learned are the Zip Direct 2-door in a box foam bed. Companies like Tuft and Needle use the same material from the same manufacturer. There's hundreds of them. Just put them in different boxes and sell at wildly different prices. Side sleeper, back sleeper and stomach sleeper is baloney. You toss and turn at night on purpose to help prevent blood clots. No mattress will keep you from tossing and turning for the reason above. It's a natural thing you're supposed to do. More layers doesn't mean better mattress. A lot of companies add in cheap materials like upholstery foam to just claim there's more layers. Maybe one layer of nice springs, then just 10 layers of various types of cheap foam to get the layers higher. One that actually is true is heat. If you frequently are hot at night, foam mattress is not good for you. It's an insulator and will trap your heat on your body. In general, air and spring are better beds because of heat. Your body needs to dump temperature at night to get into a full, deep sleep. If it's too hot, you won't sleep well. What about the soft vs firm debate? Now that you say side sleeper / back sleeper stuff is BS. Is the firmness of a mattress just preference? Hear me out, K-pop. Yeah, I've heard a rumor that companies make a bunch of groups and train them mercilessly for years and they have to keep to their very strict contract, which includes not getting any S/OS and restrictive diets. Also, when training for tours they'd get 8-pound sandbags strapped to their feet so they'd look better performing. Quite sad honestly. All of it makes for a high suicide rate amongst them. You just pointed out the nice part of pop. The dark part includes prostitution rings, pedophilia and more. And I say this as a pop fan. Fast food is whack. Food service in general. Honestly, I was a waitress for 10 years at various restaurants, but they all had something in common. There was no paid time off, meaning if you got sick and had bills to pay, you were going to work. Not only that, but even if you decided you'd take the day off and lose the money, you were threatened with being fired unless you got a doctor's note, which none of us could get since we didn't have health insurance. Really wild stuff happened to me in Ireland. I was the only Irish guy in there, and they said I wasn't getting double time on bank holiday Monday, and my flexi-IR contract meant that I didn't get holidays. The owners were Kiwis and I remember just looking at them saying, you know I'm Irish, right? I know what the laws are. I know how to get this whole shit shut down. And I know there is a lot more at stake here for you than for any of us. And that's how we got double pay at that restaurant. Advertising. We don't really give if it works. We already got your money. Even better, it's practically impossible to say it didn't work. Your sales stayed flat? Just think how much they would have dropped if you didn't run that ad campaign. And when you go out of business, we sell to the business that takes your place. Football. Edit. Gosh, I meant soccer. V. Does anyone think professional sports in general isn't riddled with shady shit? Those players get paid, though. What does that have to do with it being shady? Using young people to make millions and refusing to pay them doesn't seem shady to you? It's not just that they play sports. The programs own their likenesses and names and make money off selling those as well. That's incredibly shady. The umbrella industry. The cloud industry is a massive cover-up and throws shade that the umbrella industry could only dream of. Pharmaceutical industry. To wit one. Controlled by multinational corporations. But prices differ radically from country to country. 2. A much stronger financial incentive for a treatment. Continuing need for a prescription than a cure. One dose and you are done. 3. Advertising. How is that a legitimate basis for selecting medication? I could go on. But that's a decent start. 1. I willing to wager different countries have different legislation and markets that would account for different prices. 2. You're implying a conspiracy to subdue cures over expensive treatments. I'd need to see some pretty damning evidence to believe that. From my conversations with people who hate Big Pharma so far, that evidence doesn't seem to exist. Del Big Tree doesn't count. 3. Advertising medication only happens in the US are fake. We get US pharmacy commercials in Canada. So yes and no advertising happens outside the states. I have a feeling the states is much more inundated than us though when it comes to the onslaught of commercials. Domain names. There's so much sketchy stuff that goes in the field of domain names. Accusations of cyber squatting, sketchy registrars, domain hijacking, etc. Then there's the whole Icon.org fiasco that's been in the news recently. Worked at a domain registrar. Can confirm. Domain squatting is a thing, and so is customers trying to blame you if they make a dumb third-party decision. Here's an example. The registrar I worked at had a rather unique domain name that they sold at a rather interesting time. I can't say what it was, but let's just say it had to do with a certain European country leaving a certain union. And the domain was at ELD with just that word in it. The day after everything went down, the former owner contacted us, passed account security, provided ID and told us to change the owner details to another person. He was all smug about how he made thousands off of this sale. Calls back half an hour later and what happened? The new owner stiffed him. Didn't pay a penny. But because the guy had called, gone through security, changed the owner details on the domain, and pushed the button to transfer the domain to this other person at another registrar. It was out of our hands, and with the registry, the deed was done and this new person got a nice new domain with a very hard to get hold of name for nothing. For the record, I'm part of that country and staunchly against what's happened. So being the person who authorized that details change and set the transfer in motion was a moment of malicious compliance I'll remember forever. What industry isn't? Light bulb industry. No shade there. You've reached the end. You're a star. Destroy the subscribe button for more like that.